Hello and welcome to the Shacknews Chattycast, the podcast that wants to learn Bite but already knows 4 moves. I'm one of your hosts, Steve Watts.
I am your other host, a cuddly little Pokeball by the name of Brian Carr. Steve, today's Chattycast brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Chattycast.
That's right. And today on the show, we have our own, I don't know, what Pokemon would we call Asif? My mind immediately went to Abra because he always seemed like elusive in a way. But
he's gonna be like an Alakazam, though.
He's like
all the way there.
Yeah.
I kind of want to be a Wigglytuff.
A Wigglytuff?
All right. So it is written, so it is done.
The evolved Jigglypuff? Yeah.
Yes, I like to be the evolved Jigglypuff.
So if it has blatantly obvious, today we're going to talk about Pokemon. But before we get to that, before we get to the future of Pokemon, we're going to talk about what we are playing in the present. And let's see, Asif. I know Asif might have to leave us briefly in the middle of this show, so I'll let him go first and tell us about what he's playing.
A lot of things I can't talk about.
Okay. Well, then there you go.
Then also,
that was fast.
But I did install something for Oculus Rift last night called Dragonfront. It's a CCG in VR, and it's grid-based. And I sunk about like an hour into it last night. It's one of those games that you can play for hours, and it's just the UI is really simple. I mean, you have your Oculus controller, the kind of remote control in your hand, and most of it's look based. So imagine playing Hearthstone, but instead of having to click on stuff, you just kind of look at it. You know, you basically it's all look based. A lot of the UI. It's really fun. I'm not really, granted, I played a little bit of Supercard, I played a little bit of Hearthstone, but I'm not really that into competitive card games, especially computer ones. So it's really fun, and just being able to look down the board and everything, it's really cool. So shout out to Dragonfront.
You're more the Cards Against Humanity kind of card game player.
This is true,
as we all discovered together. So yeah, cool.
That's about it. I could talk about other stuff, but I'd be breaking embargo, so it's all good.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah.
As we know, all of the developers and publishers listen to this podcast and are and would be very upset with us. Brian, what are you playing right now?
So basically, a lot of my playing is really just relegated to writing a 9,000-page book chapter at the moment. But I have had a couple chances to play some actual games. I will talk specifically about 2 of them. Number 1 is Heroes of the Storm. Of course, there is an event going on where if you play 15 games of Heroes of the Storm, you get a skin for Genji in Overwatch, as well as Zarya in Heroes of the Storm. I do not play Overwatch ever. But I am so dumb that I'm willing to take time out of my life to try to get this skin for a character I don't play as. But I do want to have Zarya in Heroes of the Storm, so that's really more of what I'm going for.
Sure, yeah.
So I've been playing with a friend of mine, trying to get some of that taken care of. Hopefully we'll get it cleared out, before like Thanksgiving. And that's nice because like I only have so much time to play, and you can crank out like 4 games of Heroes of the Storm in an hour, so it's not too bad. And I've also finally got my hands on our beautiful bouncing bundle of joy, the NES Classic. I was able to get in the pre-orders back in August when Target had them up for 30 seconds.
As opposed to people who tried to buy it this week or whatever when Amazon put them on sale and they were just gone within 60 seconds,
right.
Like the Nick Cage movie.
Yeah. Man, if Nick Cage showed up at one of the lines for the NES Classic, I would just be like, you know what? Even if I've got the last ticket, I'm giving it to him. Thank you, sir.
You go
Thank
ahead,
you
sir. You've brought so much joy into my life.
You are an artist, and you deserve this. But yeah, so I got my hands on that, and that's a neat little machine. It is, I think, a nice. I think it's probably one of the better emulator things that Nintendo has done. I think it exceeds Virtual Console in some really meaningful ways. There are some hardware decisions that are questionable, but it's such a neat little box, and it just makes me so gosh darn happy when I look at it. I still wish I could get another controller. That's the thing that bugs me.
I know this was the whole discussion last week, so we don't have to relitigate.
We don't have
I want
to.
I want a Super
NES
one so bad. I want it so bad.
I know. Well, and that's the thing is my wife kept asking me. She's like, "Oh, is Donkey Kong Country on there?" I'm like, "No." Oh, well, what about Super Mario World? Nintendo as well. She's like, "What about?" She kept like listing out Super Nintendo games. Like, what about Super Mario Kart? I'm like, "That's also." So she wants one really, really bad too. So hopefully that Nintendo will look at this and be like, "Oh, yes, let's do that." But I will say,
I noticed that the side of the box says it has a little picture of the controller, but then it says classics, as if it's like part of a series. And I'm like, interesting to notice that this is.
It would be foolish
it's a series.
for them. It'd be foolish for them not to either make another NES classic or more of these things for other systems. But I will say this: Nintendo has been really reticent and really strangely reticent about going beyond 8-bit when it comes to their retro pandering. So I'm not sure. Like, it feels like they don't really acknowledge the Super Nintendo. Like when they put out, like, here's a retro Mario thing. It's like, oh, it's always Super Mario Brothers Mario, huh? It's never anything else. Like, and like those designs are iconic, but like, come on, there's a lot of stuff that came after the NES that's worth looking at too.
Yeah. Super Nintendo is such a great system.
It is.
We talked about that all last week.
And here's the thing:
it really seems like they should capitalize on that a little more.
They should. And here's the thing: why can't Sega get its act together with this stuff? Every Sega console that comes out like this is just garbage. And like, they have the library. They have the only library that could potentially challenge Nintendo for this sort of project or this sort of product, and they just farm it out to the lowest common denominator every time. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
There is open craftsmanship in the NES Classic. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It looks like a cool little collectible piece. It's nice. So I've been playing a little bit of Pokemon Sun, and I will talk more about that when I'll pepper thoughts about that into our discussion once we get to the proper Pokemon talk. But first, I want to talk about a little indie game I've heard of, Titanfall 2.
What's a Titanfall?
When it's a big robot that falls.
Oh, okay.
So when Doom came out earlier this year, it was a great campaign, very kinetic, very fast moving, and it was like, this feels unlike any other FPS campaign. It's so quick and snappy. It's great. And I don't really have much of an opinion on the Doom multiplayer because I don't play much multiplayer. I might dip a toe in it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm good. And I just in general, in most games,
it's bad.
It's not that bad.
Okay, sorry. It's not that good. How about that?
Let's not. It's not as good. It's not as good a multiplayer as the campaign is single player. I think it's fine. The thing we can agree on. So when I express thoughts on Titanfall, I'm also not really expressing any thoughts on the multiplayer, just the campaign. But the campaign in this is also super fast and kinetic and snappy, and I might end up liking it more than Doom. I don't know yet, but holy shit, it's really good. I'm probably around halfway through if I had to take like a total just kind of shot in the dark guess. And the sort of parkour aspect of Titanfall, working that into a campaign, it's sort of like the way I described it to the other guys in the Slack room was like, when you're playing a shooter, you generally know what you're allowed to walk on. Like a stage design is like, these platforms look like platforms. They're the things that I'm supposed to be walking on. Because this is so based on parkour and just like finding a path, there are a lot of moments where you're just like walking on things that look like they're part of the scenery, but it's like, oh no, that's the intended path. I'm supposed to get on top of that thing, you know? And on top of that, I don't want to spoil exactly what happens, but there are things that happen that they introduce new mechanics, specifically one thing that happened last night that felt Half-Life-y. Like, it feels like, oh, this is just a total game changer. Like, you get an item and you're like, this opens up a new kind of gameplay and also opens up a new kind of power for me to do that I didn't expect from this game about giant robots at all. And meanwhile, you have like this like fun, snappy dialogue with your robot, who's sort of like a Drax character that he's very literal minded. You've got, just the nice feeling of, oh my god, I've been overwhelmed as this foot soldier for the last half hour, and there's BT, my robot. I'm gonna just do a flying leap towards him and press the button, and he like scoops me up and puts me inside, and then bam, I'm way overpowered compared to these guys. Like, there's so many like just great fun moments that
is deeply appealing.
I know, yeah. So it's a shame that this game was put off to die and is now already, as we've seen reported this week, like $30 at Walmart when it only came out like 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is insane. But I'm really enjoying the campaign.
I want to play it, but I still haven't finished the Infinite Warfare campaign, and it's like I gotta kind of finish that before I really feel like I can jump into another shooter, because they're as shooters go, they're relatively similar, right? Like there's not like a huge difference. Like Doom was very distinct from everything else.
Yeah.
It certainly could not mistake it for like a Call of Duty or a Titanfall. But Call of Duty and Titanfall are so close together, I have a hard time playing both of them at once.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's probably true for the multiplayer. The campaign, I feel like, is probably pretty different for Titanfall.
Sure.
But like, the one specific game mechanic that I would love to spoil for you, but I also don't want to spoil for you, like, it opened up a combat option in a way that didn't seem readily apparent at first. But then when I figured out how that could be used to my advantage in combat, it just felt like awesome. Like it felt like, oh my god, I am a superhero compared to all of these goons, and I am just going to run roughshod over them. It's gonna be terrible for them. Like they must, like, picturing inside the head of the video game and PCs, like they must be terrified right now.
Yeah. I just want to see one where you do something like that and they're just like, you know what? They drop their gun. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm out. I don't need this job. I don't want this. I don't need any of this. I'm gone.
Yeah. I could have run the family business.
You're comparing it to Doom. I had to ask you. I think one of the big things that made Doom unique was that it wasn't a linear experience. Like you had to go to one side of the level, come back across. Was the level design in Titanfall that kind of detailed?
It is more linear than Doom, I will say. Like Doom had Doom was like arenas. There was basically an open arena, and it was like, get to this point. Okay, now that you've gotten to that point, fight your way back to this point, and now go to Titanfall will sometimes have open areas that you'll stay in for, a good 30, 45-minute session, like sort of going back and forth. But mostly it's linear. And that's partly because so much of the on-foot navigation is this whole, okay, now wall run, now jump, wall run kind of thing. And that you can't do that as easily in an open area as you can on in a linear design. I will say with the first stage, or sort of the first big stage where they're sort of teaching you all the little things you can do, not the tutorial. It's like the thing that happens immediately after the tutorial. There's basically, that's like before you get your Titan, before you sort of, the plot, very early plot spoilers, the plot basically involves like, you're not a pilot yet, the pilot of this Titan dies, and as he's dying, he transfers ownership to you. So it's the Green Lantern ring, is what I'm saying. So
go on.
Yeah, so he, like before you get your Titan, before you really meet BT, which is the Titan's name, it's like, hey, he basically tells you, like, my power is low, I need 3 batteries. And so you're sort of like in the middle of this huge, expansive, wooded area, and it'll scan around and be like, there's a battery over there, there's a battery over there, and like you need to just sort of one by one go get these 3 batteries. So in that way, it is a very open area. But since then, there haven't been as many of those. There's been like sort of 1 or 2 sort of open areas, but not as open as that one. And even that one, sort of the traversal design was just clearly meant to be done in a straight line to do all the parkour stuff.
Parkour?
Yeah, parkour.
Yeah.
Every time I think The Office.
Exactly.
That's what I always associate with Mirror's Edge and Titanfall
So were you yelling that while you were playing?
At first, yeah, it wears off when you're doing it for an entire, like, 5-hour campaign, but...
Then you are not dedicated enough.
So yeah, Titanfall, like I said, I'm not through it. This is like sort of just my impressions, but it's making a real strong case for like somewhere in my top 5, definitely my top 10. We'll see how things shake out. We're getting near the end of the year where I actually start to like need to consider those things.
It's kind of cool how many shooters are in the top 10 this year.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of mine are easily Doom, Overwatch, and Titanfall.
Yeah,
and that's a simple majority of the top 5. That's pretty impressive.
It's a good year for shooters.
Yeah, but Doom's still better. Let's be honest.
Doom has cyber demons. We were talking about this in the room. It was like, does Doom have a giant robot? No, but it does have cyber demons.
It also has quad damage.
It also has quad damage. That's true.
You can make a case for a lot of these games for being really great.
I've been campaigning for Doom for a long time, and I will continue to do
I
so.
think it's going to be neck and neck for Doom and Titanfall for me, unless Titanfall like really just blows the landing.
Well, that's surprising because you love Blizzard and Overwatch was.
I do. Well, no. Hold on. Overwatch is probably still my number one. I'm saying fighting over my number two might be Doom and Titanfall.
Yeah, it's to me too. It's just basically it's Overwatch's year. We're just all living in it. So
I mean, the really tricky thing is that like I think Final Fantasy 15 stands a relatively strong chance of being somewhere on my list, but it's also coming out like at the time that we're making our lists.
Yeah, terrible decision, really.
So I don't even know what I'm going to do about that. I tend to put some sort of RPG representation on my lists just because I like RPGs.
I'm just trying to figure out, like, there is no way I'm going to be able to finish, like, Mafia before I get onto that.
Oh, no, yeah. I think...
And it's like, here's another huge open-world game.
At a certain point, I think we can talk about this maybe on next week's show. We'll probably have to record one a little early since it's Thanksgiving. But yeah, the idea of Game of the Year voting and being this sort of weird thing that as a game journal you have to like you want to put in your votes, but you sort of have to do like game triage, and it's like if it doesn't grab me in the first 2 hours of playing it, it's apparently not making it on my list because I'm putting it aside until after the new year. So, I think Mafia 3, like that ship has sailed. It didn't grab me enough to keep me coming back. And so it's probably not making my list.
It's just so much of it is busy work, I think, and it just sucks because I love the story and the characters so much. But if it were not an open world game, it would be a very strong contender for Game of the Year, I think.
Yeah,
it is.
It's a shame. The presentation is really nice. Anyway, we can move on to talking about the actual Game of the Year, Pokemon.
Yeah. I mean, you can make a strong case for Pokemon Go if we're talking about like influential
just
games
impact
this year.
Yeah, definitely.
But I would never do that in a million years.
I like Pokemon Go fine. I know it lost its luster quickly for.
It's not
people,
very good. I'm just sorry. Like it's not a very.
I like the slow like searching for a word to finish that sentence. Like it's not very.
It's just not that good.
Good.
I'm just saying, like there's so many more polished games that came out this year. Just we live in a time where you can make a decent mobile game and make a few $100 million. I
mean, it was mobile and it was Pokemon, so it's and that's gonna be the thing when Mario Run comes out. We can talk about.
Yeah, we'll talk about a potentially decent Nintendo mobile game later, I'm sure. But let's talk about Pokemon now.
But first, we're going to talk about the world of Pokemon, which I think Professor Oak would always call it, like, welcome to the world of Pokemon. So basically, the idea that inspired this, and this was a Brian special, is that Pokemon is sort of at a crossroads right now. There's a lot of different directions that Nintendo can take this. They have their classic RPG brand that is sort of slowly, almost at a snail's pace, like adopting some more modernization with every iteration, and Pokemon Sun and Moon are the most modern RPGs of all of them, but they're still, they still have a lot of that classic Pokemon DNA, and some of that is inherently kind of slow moving. Pokemon Go is a much more social experience. It's not as pure of an RPG. It's not really meant to be as pure of an RPG. Meanwhile, they have the Switch coming up, which who knows what that could do with being able to like take stuff on the go, which is like literally the idea behind Pokemon, so they could do something with that. So basically, we're going to be asking what direction is right for Nintendo as a business decision, and what would do right by fans. Mm-hmm. Are these incompatible? And where does this series go next, and where should it go next?
Detective Pikachu.
I mean, yes, that's the end of the conversation. But
well, that was fast. That was
now I can go.
No, our quickest big topic ever.
No, they're making a movie with Detective Pikachu with Lionsgate. I mean, there's a lot coming from Detective Pikachu, and then also Sun and Moon. I mean, you've been playing that, Steve.
Yes, I have. And Sun, like I said, is modernized to an extent. Like the thing that they made sort of normal in, what was the last one, X and Y?
Mm-hmm. Well, the last one was actually Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But
but the next main series one, the EXP share, which is like, hey, you can just share your experience with all of the Pokemon, so you can level up basically 6 at a time instead of 1 at a time, which was always sort of the one of the major things that made Pokemon like extremely slow. They also in this one, as Brian and I were talking about yesterday, have gotten rid of HMs. If you don't know what Pokemon is. An HM is a hidden machine. It would give you basically traversal powers, but they had to be equipped on a Pokemon. So it resulted in this weird thing that people refer to as HM slaves, where they would just have a Pokemon like a Slowpoke that was compatible with a lot of the HMs that they could stick all the traversal things on, and that would be their traversal Pokemon, but they never really used it in battle. And then they had like basically a squad of 5 Pokemon instead of actually 6.
I mean, you sort of waste a slot. Like you really had a character that you were not that fond of,
and you would swap it out when you got to like a gym or whatever. But like it was really inelegant, and it was one of those legacy things that it's like, when are they getting rid of this?
Apparently now.
But yeah, apparently now.
And the way they implemented this from, because I haven't played the game yet, but from what I've read is that it's a sort of apparatus you have, a device that you call in certain Pokemon. And so, like, okay, we need to be able to break these rocks. So I'm going to get on the back of a Tauros and ride the Tauros through the blocks. That's a way cooler way to do that than what the games had done before. And
it keeps the basic idea behind the HMs, consistent, but it doesn't force you down that really kind of stifling methodology. And another thing that I think is modernized about Pokemon Sun, from my experience so far at least, is every Pokemon game that I've played, and I've played basically all of them, all of the main series ones at least, is that however they dress it up, the story is still pretty much identical. Like, you're a kid and then you get a Pokedex, and then a professor is like, go research them and win a bunch of gym badges, and you're like, okay, like that's kind of the whole thing. This one, I have a feeling that it's going to end up being very much like that, but they obscure it enough that so far it feels like just an RPG story. Like, you're a new kid to this town in Hawaii. It's called Alola, but it's Hawaii.
It's Hawaii.
And so, like, you're a new kid in this town, and you don't really know much about what this place is like, and that allows them to have sort of the newcomer explanation thing going on that makes a lot more sense than when you're like literally just a kid in a town and it's like, there's Pokemon around, and it's like, well, yeah, I live here. And the plot isn't, hey kid, go get some gym badges, go get 8 gym badges for some arbitrary reason. It's, hey, every year we have this big island competition to take on these special challenges, and the challenges could involve like exploring a cave or doing this or doing that. And it's like, there's 4 islands, and so you get 4, markers of having finished the challenges on the island, but there's still like 7 challenges. So it's probably going to be structured like gyms when all is said and done, but it feels a lot different. Right. And even to the point that I'm at now, I just got to like sort of my first big city. And it probably took a solid, I mean, I did grind for levels probably more than necessary, but it probably took like a solid 2 to 3 hours to get to my first big city, and I still haven't faced a gym yet. I'm still just like exploring and getting to know the world and things like that.
See, that's what I'm excited about with this game is that...
Oh, looks like I gotta go, guys.
All right. Asif will be right back. That's the commercial.
Asif will return. But no, that's what I'm excited about with this game is that I feel like, and I've purposely been trying to avoid a lot of like the spoilers, I guess, and like people are like, Pokemon has spoilers? It kind of does. But I've been trying to like avoid a lot of like learning about the new creatures and that sort of thing, because I want to sort of be surprised and just like stumble across new stuff, and that's what to me is exciting. Like part of the reason, because I burned through Omega Ruby just to kind of get ready for this one, and I just detested that game by the end because it wasn't compelling, it wasn't interesting.
It was all Gen 2, right? Like Ruby was like the second Pokemon game.
This would be Gen 3.
Gen 3. Okay.
Yeah, and just like the Pokemon weren't that interesting. Everything felt like a retread. The animation and changes they had made in X and Y were just kind of gone because it was a port of an old game. And this feels like something new and fresh and different. And I'm super excited to try that out because it sounds like they fundamentally fixed some things that were holding the game back. And that, I'm just geeked to play it. Like I've already got it preloaded on my 3DS and just waiting to start it.
Since you talked about Pokemon designs, I feel like, around Gen 3 or Gen 4 was probably like the low point of Pokemon designs. It was like clearly when they were like running out of ideas.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
I don't know, a fucking lamp. Anyway, like, but like I touched on this a little last week, but I'll mention it again because it bears repeating. The designs in this so far are really good. They feel like those classic designs. Like mine is like a cat that has, you know, coloring that makes him look a little otherworldly, but like overall it's like a cat. And there's lots of, you know, OG Pokemon that I've run into that are slightly different somehow. I've run into like a blue Meowth, you know. But when you run into a new design, it's like that looks like you could just put it next to one of the original designs and it would be like, yeah, that looks right, you know. It doesn't stand out as different or more ornate or anything.
Right. Well, here's what I love about the setting and why they chose. I mean, first off, Hawaii is a really, you know, wonderful place. You know, there's the culture, the wildlife, the ecosystem.
It makes it feel very different than any Pokemon game I've played before, because all of them have basically been. I mean, there was one, I think it was X and Y, where it was like sort of trying to imitate New York. You know, like
no, X and Y was like Paris, like Europe.
Oh, Paris, yeah, Europe.
Like,
so like there were cities,
that whole region.
That was kind of different, but this is very different, where it's like, no, people are wearing like Hawaiian shirts and shorts. You know, like it feels like a totally different setting.
The everybody's thirsty for the one professor who's running around in board shorts and no shirt and that.
I just got to a clothing shop, so my guy's wearing like capri pants and a trilby.
Nice.
I'm just gonna embrace it.
Yeah, just go with it, man. But yeah, so it's just really cool, and I love the idea of, you know, since they have to put the classic characters in, the classic Pokemon in, they did it in a really clever way. Like, I love the redesigns, and it makes sense if you're trying to look at Pokemon as sort of this biological, like, you know, sort of reflection of the real world, that, you know, these creatures would evolve differently than creatures in other areas. So like that all makes perfect sense to me. And
like my mom in the game, you have a mom who, you know, you just recently moved here with your mom, and she has a pet Meowth, and her Meowth is like the normal looking Meowth that we know of because she brought it from the mainland or whatever.
Right.
But you get here and everyone's got like blue Meowths. Yeah. That's a neat little touch.
Odd Meowth out.
It's
but
awful.
I wonder, like, I don't know. Here's my question: if you breed a regular Meowth and an Alolan Meowth, like, what happens?
It's like a light blue. It's like a green.
Like, but that's the kind of stuff I'm curious. I want to play around with it and just see like the dumb stuff. Like, it's here's the thing. Like, I was always kind of you know, I was a little old for the Pokemon craze, right? I was aware of it. I played the original game and all that, but like it did not hook me in the way that, you know, people who are probably a few years younger than me did. Yeah. But I've always appreciated just the creativity that goes into it, and the just how they're able to keep a game of this magnitude with this many elements straight, right? So I'm always excited when a new one comes out, and this one, to me, I just love the setting. I love what they're doing with it, and I think that I want to see them do more of that as they go forward. Getting back to our main sort of topic.
Yeah. So it sounds like we're in agreement that this one, and I feel like this is like history repeating. I feel like every time a Pokemon game comes out, we're like, oh man, this one's so modernized compared to the previous ones. And it's, of course, if you look back in history, it's like these have all been like pretty small steps that they've been making, but
very incremental.
It's been such a slow moving series that every small incremental step feels huge. I think even by those standards, though, Sun and Moon feel bigger than most, you know. It's probably the biggest leap since like Black and White in some ways.
Well, even the things they're doing between versions is kind of interesting. Like, I guess Moon is like 12 hours faster than your internal clock, whereas Sun like follows it. Huh. So you're always going to see different Pokemon than the people that are playing Sun, and I think that's really, really cool. Like, because there's some that are nocturnal and some that only come out during the day and that kind of thing. And there's like a whole ecosystem they've developed around that. That's really intriguing. So I'm getting Moon because you already got Sun, and we have the sort of unspoken rule that whatever version you
going
get,
back generations. Yeah.
So I got Moon, and I'm really excited to see. I'm going to have a completely different experience in a lot of ways than what you did, and I think that's neat.
Yeah. And I mean, let's brainstorm a little bit, and recognizing that you haven't actually played Sun or Moon yet.
No.
But
played the demo.
Yeah, that's enough to get a general sense.
I got my Ashes Greninja or whatever it is.
Oh, I didn't actually, because by the time I got the game around the time the demo came out. Anyway, let's brainstorm. Like, what if they choose to continue down the path of we're going to keep making traditional Pokemon games, maybe for Switch or whatever.
Mhm.
Let's like brainstorm like what else needs to be done to modernize it, and also what could they do to take advantage of the Switch functionality.
At some point, they've got to do the MMO. Like it is beyond.
That's the classic request. That's what people have been saying for.
Well, I'm not.
who knows
I
how
mean,
long.
maybe we need to look at it less as like a traditional MMO, as more of like a Fantasy Star Online kind of thing, right? Or like a Destiny kind of thing,
Or a MOBA.
Or a MOBA that could be also good.
Asa's back.
Yeah, by the way, I'm back.
I heard Lola barking, so I'm like, oh, Asif must be here again. But I think like playing with online, because they've already dipped their toe into it with Pokemon Go, right? And now you've got a platform in the Switch that is built around creating an experience that works both at home as well as on the go. And you could, if you factor in, I'm assuming that thing will have some kind of GPS thing or something that will have like a step counter or some sort of thing that gives you an incentive to take it out in the real world. You almost have to at that point, if we are going to condense the games that Nintendo's developing down into one stream instead of a handheld stream and a console stream, like Pokemon has to finally go that way. I don't see how you could make another generation that doesn't finally take that step and add a lot of those console elements into the game.
And that's a good point that you just brought up, that like if the Switch replaces both their console and handheld spaces, which it looks like it's going to do, even though they've sort of like
certain at this point, right?
They've sort of hedged on that and been like, no, it's not replacing the 3DS. It's like, well, yeah, it is.
3DS is dying like a year later. Come on.
Yeah, like we know, guys, it's okay. But like if it does that, you're right that it does need to sort of take the place of both of those. And there are lots of the consoles tend to be the place for like Pokemon spin-offs, while the handheld is the place for like proper Pokemon, and that's how it's always been. But yeah, if they're going to be merging it, they need to think that through. I also think this is one question that I've sort of struggled with myself, because I know that there are Pokemon purists out there that are like, no, the battle systems work in a particular way, and that is what feels like Pokemon. And it sort of reminds me of the stiff camera in Resident Evil is what makes it feel like Resident Evil.
The tank controls, Resident Evil, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously Resident Evil has evolved past that, and it got a lot of praise in Resident Evil 4. So I think they could do this in Pokemon 2. I think at some point they need to adopt a battle system that isn't one-on-one. I select a move, you select a move, we both do them. Hey, do you want to change Pokemon? No. I select a move, you select a move, they both do them. And then it just keeps going like that. Like eventually we need like multi-Pokemon parties or something that just moves a little snappier.
Well, they're dipping their toe in that direction. I mean, I know you can turn off like animations and that sort of thing to make the battle go faster, and you can also there are instances where you'll have multiple Pokemon fighting at once. I know in I think it's this one. There's like swarms of Pokemon that show up, and like that's kind of.
And they've also had like two Pokemon on your side, and you select like what both of them do. The whole interface though still feels like it's tied to.
It's archaic in a way.
The one-on-one, and also just like the touch screen. It's tied to the touch screen in this sort of weird way where it's like, yeah, we want to make it so that if you want to just tap your way through this game, you can do that. And it's like, I don't really want to. I just want to like select A to have my dude attack the dude.
Just real quick about you guys saying that the 3DS is pretty much dead. If it was dead, they would have done what they're doing with the Wii U and stopped production of it. Instead, Instead, what they're doing, they're slashing the price of it.
Yeah,
and it's honestly one of the best deals out there right now.
I think they ride out the 3DS for another year or two.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not dead now, but
I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to be the Xbox situation where they're like, we're killing it off aggressively. They're going to let it. They're going to let it die in its own time. But I think eventually, in the long game, the Switch eventually replaces both their console and handheld streams.
I think it's kind of like what iPhone does, where it's like 2 years. The iPhone from 2 years ago is now really cheap. We're gonna keep selling it until it's obsolete.
Well, I mean,
that's what's happening with the 3DS.
I guess my thinking on the 3DS dying is more about it probably doesn't have a replacement. You know, like if the Wii U was the replacement for the Wii and the 3DS was the replacement for the DS, there's paths there. I think the Switch is the convergence of both of those paths. I don't think that the Switch is the new Wii U, and then after the 3DS, there will be a new 3DS.
I have a different opinion on what they're going to do with mobile. because I think they're turning all the smartphones on Earth into a Nintendo device in the next year.
Well, yeah. That's all. That's the real third pillar.
Yeah, that's my tinfoil hat theory, is that the Game Boy essentially, evolved into the DS, which is going to evolve into this mobile initiative, which is going to be. I think those Joy-Cons can slap onto both sides of my phone, and I have a perfect little Game Boy in my hand.
That would be rad. Yeah.
So that's what I think is going to happen. But that's just my tinfoil hat idea. Nintendo has proven that they like to frustrate me beyond all.
It's plausible. It's definitely plausible.
Yeah.
So I want to bring up a couple of things that Chatty brought up, and this has mostly been about Pokemon Go in various ways, which we haven't actually talked about that much yet. So Ricky Tiki 2 suggested we talk about both the rise of Pokemon Go and also the fall of Pokemon Go. As Asa pointed out, it is still top 8 on top grossing charts. It's not. It's doing well. It's fine.
It makes more money than Netflix does per month, than Tinder does per month, than Clash of Clans does. So it doesn't have 70 million active users anymore, but it still has like.
I feel like when you talk about the fall of Pokemon Go, I feel like he's probably talking more about its sort of place in the wider conversation, where it had a solid like 2 weeks there where everyone sort of was like, this is awesome. And then the popular wisdom, at least in the gaming sphere, the hardcore, like nerds like us, started to turn sour on it really weirdly quickly.
I mean, I said it at the beginning of the show. It's not very good. It's definitely a transformative game, and it's a meaningful game.
Like it feels like the kind of
barely a game though. Like it's more of a geocaching sort of thing.
People wrung out what it had to offer very quickly, and then they were like, "Oh, that's it."
Miitomo is essentially
nothing since then.
Miitomo's not a game, but I'm still playing it. I don't know.
Sure.
It's just this idea that it's not a game. I mean, mobile games aren't very deep. So it's like.
Well, I think I hate to use this term, but I'm going to because it's easy shorthand. I think the hardcore gaming community is less patient with that kind of thing than the audience at large. If you present a game to a quote unquote hardcore gamer and they get their fill of it after 2 weeks and they've kind of seen everything it has to offer, they're frustrated because they're like, I want this thing to last forever. It has the potential to last forever. It's not actually a campaign that has an ending. So I want this thing to have enough content to just last me for the rest of my life. Meanwhile, I think the casual consumer, which is what Niantic has really captured with Pokemon Go, they don't care. There are a million games that come out every year that the casual gamer will like play for a week and then never think about again in their entire life. And they are fine with that. It doesn't bother them at all. And so I think it's like a different expectation that we have on our side of the gaming sphere than sort of what they were aiming for.
Yeah, and I agree that, Pokemon Go, if you're a Nintendo purist or if you're a gamer, that plays console and PC games, it's a shallow experience. You play it, you throw some balls at some Pokemon, and then you're like, well, that's it.
I got myself a Rapidash. I feel good.
But at the same time, like when I was living out in Orange County, I would go to University of California, Irvine, because there was a gym over there, and there'd be 30 people sitting around this fountain, all playing Pokemon Go. And
I went on vacation with family like during the height of Pokemon Go-ness, and we just went down to this pier, and there were just like every single person on that pier was staring at their phone. Like it was probably hundreds of people. And actually at one point somebody drove down the pier blasting Gotta Catch 'Em All Pokemon, like the theme song, which was pretty funny.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like there's a lot of people who aren't playing it anymore, but the people who are playing it a lot, and they're paying, and they're buying Pokeball packs. My nephew's 10; he's still playing it, and when season 2 drops, that's the thing. The fact that they have seasons in it, you're going to see increased users. Even with the Halloween update that just came out a couple of weeks ago.
I reinstalled it as the Halloween update.
And with Sun and Moon, we're what, like 7 generations deep on this thing? They can just keep issuing updates like that.
Yeah.
For years and years.
So
I think it's not going anywhere.
I think Harold Johnson had mentioned we should talk about Ingress.
That's the one I was about to bring up, because he just mentioned that it's been it's 4 years old. It's gotten 20+ million downloads. So all that to say, Niantic knows a thing or two about longevity.
Yeah. And
keeping these
it's
things
like
alive.
they make an app that certain people are addicted to, and it's like, I think that's the key to being a successful mobile app, is that you want to be that first thing that people, when they're in line somewhere, pull out of their pocket and plays. And I think for a lot of people, Pokemon Go is that. For a lot of other people, Ingress was that. And I think Ingress is really cool. So it's nice to see Niantic have success twice there. And they have a lot of patents there that kind of protect them from other competition. Like, we've seen Pokemon Go clones come out, but none of them are good. So it's
and none of them are Pokemon either. I mean, like the name recognition by itself is huge. You got Pikachu with like a Thanksgiving Day float. Even if you don't ever play a Pokemon game, you know what a Pikachu is, and then this game comes out that's on your phone, and you're like, okay, I'll play it.
Back to my original point. Detective Pikachu is going to make $1 gajillion because
it is. They're going to put a hat on that Thanksgiving Day float.
I'm just saying, like, you'd make a movie with Pikachu and he's a detective. It's gonna sell. They're gonna sell $1 gajillion.
So let me tell you. So it sounds like
show of hands. Who's watching the Detective Pikachu movie opening weekend?
Obviously. But like to break my own premise, we're going to move on in a second here to talk about some news. But to break my own premise, it sounds like the way we presented this topic was, hey, they're kind of at a crossroads. Which way do they go? It sounds like the answer is probably going to be every direction. Yeah, they're going to go every direction.
Right.
They're going to have the traditional Pokemon on the Switch, probably. Maybe include some like social elements, since the Switch allows you to take it places, and also put in some of the console elements that have been developing over the last few years. They're still, I'm sure, going to be doing spin-offs, Pokemon Tournament, whatever, blah blah blah. And Pokemon Go is not going anywhere anytime soon.
I would love to see Pokemon Go interact with with whatever the Switch version is in some way.
Oh, that would be rad.
Yeah, I want Switch to have some sort of AR component. That's kind of what I wanted to go back to real quick, is that augmented reality, the fact that Pokemon Go is a success just shows you that there's a demand out there for an augmented reality experience on mobile. And even though it's not that great, it was the best one we have to date. So my hope is that we haven't seen if Switch has a camera on it or not, or if it has a stereoscopic camera. But my hope is that they do something.
Even the 3DS has a camera on it. No one ever used it, but it does.
Face Raiders used it, and it was an augmented reality experience. And it was at launch. And then they had those cards that were also available at launch. But I feel like there's something about Switch that we don't know yet, and if it's augmented reality based, that would lend perfectly to tying in with Pokemon Go or other games. But yeah, I hope that Nintendo saw that success and were like, let's do more of that, And I just think, going back to what you're saying, more of everything, that's kind of their ethos, is the blue ocean strategy. It's like, how do we make our games accessible to the most amount of people possible, the most amount of gamers possible, and how do we expand the pie that is gamers? So it's like, if this it really is part of that same strategy, I think we will see that play out through the software. And like Brian had mentioned, an MMO with Pokemon, or a Pokemon MOBA, something that involves a more social experience with Pokemon, I think is obvious. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think that this was the year of Pokemon, right? And if you look at what they've done this year, it's been pretty impressive. But I think at least
Super Bowl ad. It's all started there.
Yeah, which was a great ad. I mean, and at the time we didn't really know what the heck they were talking about. But
I mean, it was just kind of like a cute, like, feel good ad. It's like, oh, that's nice. That's like a nice idea.
But yeah,
it was featuring families and kids aspiring to something greater, even though it's being greater at a fictitious sport.
I still think there will be another game made in the same same track as Sun and Moon. That same Pokemon game, because people like that game. They want more of that game. That's why Sun and Moon's going to sell like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Pokemon game. It's like the exact opposite of Pokemon Go, where it's It's very deep. If you get into the hardcore Pokemon community, which I am not a member of, but I know from reading about it that if you get into the hardcore Pokemon community, there's like, here's the max, like they min-max their Pokemon. They're like, here's the exact like experience path you need to take to plan your upgrades to maximize their stats. So it's kind of insane how you've got this one super thin, very short-lived mobile game, and you've got this other like insanely deep, like deeper than most people ever explore RPG. And those are sort of the two branches of Pokemon. And both of them are wildly successful. So
Yeah.
There's no reason to stop doing either, I suppose.
Yeah, and they have an amusement park coming out too, and you would imagine that there's going to be a Pokemon component of that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, there's got to be. Mario, Pokemon, and Zelda got to be the big things there.
Yeah.
So let's move on with the time we have remaining here to talk about another mobile game. We're gonna start talking about newsy bits. The first one is another mobile game, Super Mario Run. We got the release date and the price. Technically, the price is free. We already knew that, but the price to unlock the whole game, we got that this week.
Well, it's that model, free to start.
Yeah, free to start. Which I love. I love Nintendo for just the
honesty. Yeah. They're like, it's free to start.
It's also known as a demo. Anyway, yeah. So you download the base game for free. This is how a lot of mobile games do this nowadays because everyone wants to be listed as free on the App Store. But you download the base game for free. The full unlock for all three modes is $9.99, which has raised some consternation among some corners of the internet, and I thought we should talk about that. $9.99 has been described as sticker shock for mobile games, and I am like, are you kidding me?
Well, so here's the thing. It is sticker shock. I said this on Twitter yesterday, actually. There is a sticker shock, not that the price is too high, but that people think it's too high, right?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird phenomenon.
Steve, out of curiosity, how much have you spent on Hearthstone?
On Hearthstone? Oh, man, it's in the hundreds. I don't even...
Hundreds of dollars.
I don't actually know.
On a free game. And there's so many games out there that are free, and you have to buy jewels, and you have to buy coins, and you have to buy lives. And I've seen my nephews dump $20, $30 into these games. So $10 for a game, a one-time unlock of 3 modes, in comparison to what is considered free-to-play, is not that expensive.
And here, quick confession. Hearthstone is like the easy mark, like easy question for me, because it's like everyone knows that I'm like a Hearthstone addict, you know?
That's why
like
I asked.
That's like the easy comparison. Let me just use a different game as a comparison. And part of this is that like I'm an adult and I work and my wife works and we have money that we can use on discretionary dumb little things, you know? Like Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, PvZ Heroes. I talked about that on the show a couple times. It's another free-to-play mobile card game that I like okay, you know? I'm not as addicted to it as I am to Hearthstone, and I spent $20 on it because I can and I wanted to, and it's fine. Like, and that's for a game that I know when it gets closer to Christmas, it'll be like, buy the Christmas pack, you know? Like, I know they're going to be trying to get more money out of me. I spent $5 on a Halloween pack, and then I think there was like $15 for like a special like legendary pack.
And Mario Run drops
$20 altogether. Yeah, Mario Run
10 days before Christmas.
Half the price of what I've already spent on this game that is definitely going to try to squeeze me for more money. You get the entire thing. Mm-hmm. You get the whole game.
So a couple things that I want to point out about this. Number one, it's a new Mario game.
Okay? On iPhone.
On iPhone. And so here's the thing. Like, people thought it was going to be like some dumb endless runner thing, right? But it does not look like that's what they're doing at all. They're doing a Mario game.
Levels. They have levels that you get through.
Yeah. There are levels. There are objectives. There are things you can do. It is not an endless runner. It is the only thing that makes it different from a regular Mario game is that Mario automatically runs and that you tap the screen to make him jump. That's it. All the same moves are there. The same locomotion is there. There's weight to it. There's Goombas to jump on. Everything is there. $10. I do not want to live in a gaming community. This is where I'm going to check out. where a new Mario game is not worth $10.
$10 too expensive. Yeah, I mean the conventional wisdom seems to have settled on $5, which maybe I predicted that back in the day.
I thought $5 for sure was what they're going to launch at, but
yeah. So the conventional wisdom was $5. $10 is twice that. I understand why people are like, "Whoa, it's twice what we thought it would be," but it's still only $10. What I said in our Slack room was like, okay, you have to buy one less vanilla chai. Like, guys, come on.
No, well, I talked to my wife about this because she's a Mario fan. She loves Mario too, and I showed her this, and she's really excited about it. And I told her it was $10. She's like, "That's nothing. Like, I'm willing to. We can spend $10."
Look at it relative to what Mario games cost on other platforms.
Right.
If you're buying a 3DS Mario, you're going to spend about $40-$50 on it.
Yeah,
if you're buying a Mario for Wii U, it's going to cost you $60. So, in comparison to what you can get. It's the lowest cost Mario option that you have out there for a new game, and it's also like it's an early adopter tax. Because
it's an experimental game too. Like this is Nintendo's first time trying this out, and to hedge our bets slightly, if this game ends up being like bad or thin, if each level lasts like 30 seconds since you can finish it in an hour, like okay, yes, you raised a good point. We in the journalism sphere will try to raise the alarms and say like, hey guys, there's not that much content in here. I don't think that's going to be the case because I have more faith in Nintendo than that. But if that's the case, we'll try to raise alarms about it. And if you're afraid of that being the case, if $10 is, like, I don't know everyone's financial situation. If $10 is something that you don't want to part with lightly, which is entirely possible. Just wait. Sure. Like wait until we let you know.
Number one, there's not going to be a limited stock of this. You can get it later. It's not going to run out.
No, it's not PS Classic. This is a timed exclusive for iOS. They said that at the Apple event where they announced the game. This is a timed exclusive for iOS. Apple users spend more money on apps than Android users. Even though Android has 80% market share or whatever, 60% market share, that sliver of Apple users spend more money than all of those Android users combined, right? And also, this is an early adopter tax. I'm buying this game no matter what.
To bring up the early adopter thing, prices drop on iOS all the time. Like
exactly,
you have temporary sales and permanent price drops. If it was priced at $5, what would they drop it to for a sale? Like $3? Like
exactly. So it's like, why not tax me? Why not continue this abusive relationship and tax me?
I think David put it well. I think David Craddock, our writer, put it well yesterday when we were in the room, and he said like $10 is the correct price because that is what people will pay for it. And it's like, yep.
Watch when this thing goes multi-platform, and they drop it to $5. I won't be surprised. You know what I mean? Like I just think that this is an early adopter tax for being on iOS, and then you're gonna have to wait if you want to get it for cheaper. Or just buy the damn thing. Like you said, don't go to Starbucks like once in a day, and you'll save the money.
Made up the difference between what you thought it was.
But like you said, it's if you have discretionary income or not. I think that what's going to help them a lot is that it comes out 10 days before Christmas. So you have a lot of kids that can just ask for this.
Just like $10 iTunes gift cards. Bam, problem solved.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's not that hard to get for Christmas. Is a $10 gift card from someone. So I think that's genius on their part.
So I want to summarize. We actually have to move along soon, but I want to summarize sort of the news that came out of this. We talked a lot about the price because that was the thing that for some reason shocked everyone. It's coming out December 15th, and the other sort of piece of news was the 3 modes that it has. It's got the campaign mode. It's not called campaign, but I'll just call it that, which is 24 courses across 6 worlds. Then you have the there's the Toad Rally, which is sort of their multiplayer show off your
Toad
moves.
Rally's gonna rule. I can't wait.
Yeah,
you sort of get scored for how stylishly you finish stages, is what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And then by winning those events, you get coins that you can spend in the 3rd mode, which is like sort of a semi-cutesy world builder mode. And we don't know how fleshed out any of those things will be, but it's 3 different things to do in this game. That seems pretty good. And
no, I think
I have faith in Nintendo.
One thing that Miyamoto stressed, I can't remember when he was talking about it, or he was in an interview, is it's going to be one-hand gameplay. And he was he's very proud of the fact that it's going to be
Yeah,
a
you can eat a
an
hot
apple.
dog or whatever he said. Yeah, an
He
apple.
said,
That's right.
Yeah, he said you can eat an apple while playing this. Yeah, I don't know. I think when Miyamoto's working on a project and that man's been playing iPhone games for almost 10 years straight and not making a game for iOS, I'm pretty sure he's had a lot of time to think about what he would do. So
Yeah.
I do think that this is, we're talking about how they call it Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. This is Miyamoto's Super Mario Run. And
I've heard comparisons to Rayman, and it's like, well, Rayman's not Mario, guys. Like you have to give some credit to brand recognition. I like the Rayman mobile games, but Rayman does not have the cachet of Mario.
No,
he just doesn't.
Mario's more recognizable in the world than Michael Jordan. So I think that should, people need to remember that this is going to be. And I was surprised yesterday when I'm a Nintendo shareholder, no surprise, but when the stock didn't respond positively to this, I guess it was accompanied by the Breath of the Wild delay. I don't know if that was going to be your other newsy bit.
That's going to be our other newsy bit. That and that's not even an officially announced thing. That's just a rumor right now.
Rumor.
Breath of the Wild might not make launch, which is not the best news.
Yeah.
But you were making a larger point about stock, so I'll leave.
No, I was surprised that people were so down on this. Like, I think that this could generate hundreds of millions of dollars for them in a few months. And this is a company that's struggling to make 60 million of profit this year. So I don't know. I think people are underestimating just how big this could be. Lola agrees with me. But yeah, I think that, if you're talking about, let's say this game sells 30 million units in the first quarter. That's $300 million of revenue. And it's not like Pokemon Go where they have to split it with Niantic and Google. Mm-hmm. This is going to go all to Nintendo.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this is way bigger than people realize right now. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Pokemon Go. People were sleeping on Pokemon Go, and then by July it was Pokemon Go mania. So
I think I bet the App Store crashes when Mario Run gets released.
I mean, Nintendo broke Amazon a couple days ago with the NES Classic release.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not outside the realm of possibility. But yeah, I think people are underestimating just how popular this game will be. And yeah, I would buy the stock as a result.
I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the games I'm most looking forward to. Is Mario Run. Maybe more than a lot of other things coming out towards the end of the year here.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that includes Final Fantasy 15, so that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. But I do. I'm looking forward to Mario Run more than that. I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. So.
Yeah. So we can talk very briefly about the Zelda missing the Switch launch. That may be a strategic decision because it was accompanied by a rumor that Mario was going to be ready for the Switch launch.
And Splatoon.
They may not want to self-cannibalize. So I'll just go for like hot takes, brief thoughts. Asif, keep it to like 2 sentences or less. Go.
I'm okay with yet another Zelda delay as long as it doesn't suck.
All right. Brief thoughts. Brian.
Who cares? 3D Mario.
Yeah.
Brian is a resident like Zelda curmudgeon, so he doesn't care. I think I would like to play Zelda a lot, but
no, I'm
not
bummed.
seen much of this new Mario. I'm not going to say that I want Zelda more than Mario because
the idea of 3D Mario is bigger to me than a new Zelda game. I don't even know. Like, you don't have to I don't have to see anything about it before I play it. Just like here's a box and it's like says 3D Mario on it. Okay,
I'm
taking that box home.
I've beaten every 3D Mario game. I have not beaten every Zelda game that's come out in the last 15 years because I did not like Twilight Princess. I thought it was weak. Once they made me waggle, they really lost me in the Zelda universe. So they're going to get me back here with Breath of the Wild, but and clearly A Link Between Worlds was great. But
I think Breath of the Wild will do the same thing for 3D Zelda that Link Between Worlds did for other Zelda. But
yeah,
but 3D Mario, I literally as soon as you said that, I'm like, okay, whatever, just do your thing. I don't care, do it.
Honestly, I'm just surprised. I'm surprised that the Switch itself isn't delayed. I'm still waiting for them to be like, yeah, you know what, we're just gonna launch it in November next year anyway. I hope they don't do that. It seems like
I don't think they can. I don't think that's an option for them.
Maybe it was supposed to come out November this year, and it just got delayed till March. Companies have gotten really smart about never saying when things are coming out until they're absolutely sure.
Right.
So hopefully that's the case with Nintendo here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm upset if this is true, but we'll live. We'll still have plenty of games to play on Switch, hopefully.
Yeah, I bet.
And enhanced support of Splatoon is also really good. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
Portable Splatoon, I'm down. Just how am I going to play online?
Yeah, we'll worry about it later.
Yeah. Bot
They might do it
matches
for DS now.
or they'll give you a mobile option. Who knows?
Tethered to your
all right.
phone.
We can get out of here. We can let Brian eat some food before he has to inspire young minds. Let's do some quick plugs. Also, do you have anything you're working on this week?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Things you're not allowed to talk about.
Yeah,
that's right.
Brian,
there have been so many times during this show that I've needled you to tell us things you're not allowed to. Brian, what are you working on?
I'm going to say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go to shacknews.com at some point, probably while I'm eating lunch, and check out some of the Mean Streets of Gadgets and card reviews. I haven't had a chance to actually read them yet. So that's what I'll plug. I'll plug those.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm working on those. We also have like just a big gallery that was like a stupid amount of work to get the whole gallery going of like every card that's been revealed so far, updated daily.
I guess let's shout out to Key for his Dishonored 2 review is going to be hitting the site shortly.
Yeah, he had his review in progress. I'm going to be looking over his review shortly after this show. So
I know Brittany's working on a lot of Pokemon Sun and Moon content for Modojo. And yeah, WWE Supercard server should be back online, guys. So don't worry. Our long national nightmare is over.
Oh, thank God! Yeah,
no, it was. I wrote an article for Modojo under the name Servy McServerface early this morning, but because we get to have fun over there at Modojo with our CMS. And, yeah, it's that game still exists. Season 3 is dropping today, so I'll give a shout out to that game.
Great,
nice. Since you kind of plugged the thing that I'm currently doing, I'll just keep my mouth shut. But thanks for listening. Review us on iTunes. Take care of yourselves and each other. And for Asukan, I'm Steve Watts.
I'm Brian Carr.
And we'll see you on Chatty.
Do it for